Bing is running on a new next generation large language model, one that is much more powerful than ChatGPT. Oh, no, sorry about that. We're on to the next generation.
Sorry, Clippy, but you heard him. You're just old technology. This is how life works. Sorry, man, but you gotta go. Microsoft just revealed a new artificial intelligence integration with its new Bing search engine, which really should be called GPT-4. This next generation LLM large language model is more powerful than ChatGPT.
This new Bing experience is powered by one of our next generation models that Microsoft has customized specifically for search.
And as of this weekend, it's also integrated into multiple Microsoft products. But why this matters to you is because approximately 50% of the 100,000 searches on Google per second are not sufficiently answered by links alone.
With over 10 billion queries a day, roughly half of all searches aren't delivering the job that people want.
So answering in a natural language way with the relevant information embedded in that conversation, the world as a whole is going to save an incredible amount of time researching.
40% of the time, people click on search links, they click back immediately.
And not only is this kind of interface going to make us all more efficient, if you're interested in growing a business or lead generation or SEO, this is an amazing amount of traffic that can now be captured if you understand how this search paradigm is changing. Now, right now, most of these unsatisfied Google searches end up getting blue links that take them inside data silos where there's often a secondary search engine. Think about Amazon for shopping, ESPN for sports, YouTube for videos, Spotify for music, Reddit for community and questions. So Google should be a place to answer questions, but it's really not. It's a place to find directions. But now cut to Microsoft's big announcement at Bing, and we can think about what they have as a human with an infinitely smart brain. They can either pull that information and synthesize it with new content, basically some kind of verbal response that summarizes what they know, or they can tell you where things are, but they can give you context around that. It can generate generative AI content and then link it to where the source came from. A better way for you to think about this is a chat conversation where you have what they call a co-pilot or an assistant that's helping you actually think about what parts of the internet you want in what context. And some of the most interesting ways that I'm going to show you that it's playing out was with comparison shopping, understanding the size and weight of something that's in the real world, understanding locations and comparing where objects are like in a logistical system, itineraries and travel arrangements, real-time dates, and even synthesizing that information like a travel itinerary into an email and sending it to the people that need to know. And I can definitely imagine the next step where you have a credit card on file and you ask to buy something, that it's compared across multiple websites and it handles all of that. No more entering information, no more trying to set up email accounts with each system. I could imagine that stuff all being automated very soon. But enough of what it will be, here's what it is today. Okay, so for this example, he does a search for a TV. So this would be something you probably would go to Amazon for, but we're gonna do it on Bing for this example.
I'm gonna look for a 65-inch TV, the link's on the left, and the answer is here on the right. But now I wanna refine this query. So I can do that by going to chat. I can either swipe up with my fingers or look up here at the top of the screen. We have now a new chat scope. And with that, with one click, you are now into chat. Look how beautiful that is. Search to chat, just so seamless.
Look at how beautiful that is. Search to chat, just so seamless.
And now we take away all of the content and you focus on your query.
You can then refine a search, but in a way that's really a conversation that has memory that you can talk to without having to reference certain keywords, without you having to dumb down your conversation so that it fits the kind of keywords that Google has trained us to use.
The search box you can't see, now that can take up to 2,000 characters.
I mean, just a query like which one of these could be delivered in the next 48 hours? What TV is 4K or has an HDMI cable or has a really thin depth display or whatever it is that you want for your TV. Just kind of go in there and chat with it. You don't have to worry about what search parameters are there. You don't have to learn about the interface. And most importantly, there is a memory of the context. And that's what I think I find so different about it. Every time you do a Google search, it's in some sense lost, right? It kind of knows what you've clicked on before. It kind of gives you things that are relevant. It kind of knows your zip code. But when I'm actually talking with it, it's hard to say, oh man, you kind of got half of what I wanted, just keep that half, but also I need you to like change this part of the way that I queried it. Or like you're close, but one thing you're not getting is that I meant it in this context, not in this one. Like if you're like a Google Power user, you'll probably go in there and even learn like the colon and the quotes so that you can keep two words put together. And like those are all games that we've had to play. This is so much nicer.
You can just ask for it. I'm going to ask for a gaming optimized TV. All I have to say is which of these are best for gaming. And we remember all of the context. We know that we're talking about flat screens. We know we're talking about 65-inch TVs. It does all the queries on my behalf and comes back with a great answer. Since we know you're asking about gaming TVs, we pull out, oh, this one has a game optimizer, this has game mode. And so we make that really helpful. I'll ask it to adjust it for which one of these is the cheapest. Again, Bing knows the context, and it just goes in and refires the queries. So easy. You just talk to it and you can refine your shopping experience.
Okay, now let's talk about traveling, because that's another thing that's like a complete headache for me. And I was just thinking how nice this would have been. When I set up some itinerary a couple days ago, I had to first go to a couple different airlines. I had to sort of price shop. Each time I had to log in and like enter some information. And then I had to go to the zip code and see like what hotels were around there on Google Maps. And then I'd click on them and made a decision. I'm sure I didn't optimize it. I didn't compare enough. I just sort of fell into what seemed reasonable and made sense, and I just hated the experience. It probably took maybe a full hour by the time I actually ended up like calling the hotel and like doing all of that, and I would just love something to do that for me, and I think we're really close to it. So watch this example.
I'm traveling to Mexico for my cousin's wedding, and with the new Bing, I now don't have to start with something that's dumbed down, like Mexico City travel tips. I can ask for what I want. Actually, create an itinerary for a 5-day trip to Mexico City for me and my family. And just like that, Bing goes to work. And just take a look at how it starts to compile. It starts with day 1, and we put in there, look, arrive in Mexico City, check into your hotel, go check out maybe the Playa de Artes, have some lunch, then there's day 2, and you see, isn't this just so much better as a starting point? And look, if you want to learn more, if you're like, hey, I don't love these 5 days, no problem. Down there, we have links where you can go and learn more. And we put in some nice touches in there as well. Now, let's say business travel changes. Oh, I only have a 3-day. I don't have to go back out there and figure it. I just say, hey, make this a 3-day trip, and Bing reflows that recommendation into a 3-day trip. And now let's just have some fun. Let's say, okay, yeah, I'm still trip planning. We like to shop. Where can I shop? And you get some shopping recommendations. Like to go out at night, all right? Make the most of the trip. Where's the nightlife? And you get a list of nightlife. You see, this is just so much better than today's search to start for your travel planning. Let me show you a final example of chat and how I think the new language models are going to maybe help bring the world a little bit closer together.
But once you have an itinerary and you've kind of figured out all these little details, it's still in the memory. And now you can move kind of over to that generative side where you then say, by the way, can you put this in an email for me? You can just take that information, format it in a way that you can send it to the other people who you're traveling with.
Not only can you better consume information, but you can better create. You can simply ask Bing, hey, write an email sharing this itinerary and put it in a thing for me to be able to send to my family.
And just keep in mind, that's something you couldn't ever do with Google or the previous Bing. You just found information. And that's the big key here, is these large language models are generating content.
After our big announcement, I'm going to want to write a LinkedIn post, let's say. So I'll just click create on the post, and up comes the creation dialog in LinkedIn. But now I can open up the Bing sidebar, and you can see here, I now will go to compose, and I'll just give it a prompt. I'll say, hey, introducing the new AI-powered Bing and Edge. Let's make that enthusiastic and generate a draft. And just like that, you get a little draft, and I can edit it. And then with one click, it copies right over.
And of course, like Midjourney and this stuff is going to be like integrated into Bing soon, maybe text to video. Probably could be like, also make some video of me like at the beach. You haven't even gone on the vacation yet, and like 3 or 4 posts and schedule them on Instagram for each of the 3 days that matches the itinerary. And you could probably look like you'd went on the vacation before even booking it. So weird, but that future is like right around the corner. Okay, so some other things that don't go into the chat feature but can still be used with the new Bing that are closer to the chat GPT model is summarization. And that's when you can take a large Wikipedia page and just say, summarize this for me, explain it to me like I'm 5, something simple, and give me the gist of complicated information. But that is generative. That's generating a simpler version of it instead of just linking it to the whole page and you having to scan for the parts of the information that you want, or you're trying to summarize the overall article in your head.
Let's try this now in the new Bing. First, you see the web results here on the left, but then on the right, you start to see how we start to compile the answer. And what you get here now is we have the ability to highlight these web links. We can annotate the results. And that's because we're able to go in and apply our index onto the answers there.
Well, that's cool because it just basically hones in a ChatGPT-like interface into a specific URL, which is something ChatGPT couldn't do. It didn't have access to the internet. But now just go to that Wikipedia page and summarize it. Like, boom, you don't have to cut and paste it in. And also, don't forget that these search engines, they keep basically an entire copy of the internet on their servers in multiple versions and histories of them. This is an incredible amount of data, but it's because they're crawling the internet all the time and they're bringing it onto their server so that they can optimize the way that these search links eventually take all these people instantly to those pages. And touching on that real-time aspect, there's always a news section, right? And that's telling you information sometimes from 5 or 10 minutes ago. They have patterns already to identify what's news and what's relevant, and they also understand locations. When you ask for something like a query that's complicated, but it has pieces of its search engine that it can tap into and bring those together, you get remarkable results. So in this case, the Super Bowl is going to be Sunday. Right now, I'm filming on a Friday. If you ask it what other events are happening at the same time as the Super Bowl, it can make all of these assumptions because it has that large language model. Like when you say what other events are happening, it knows that date and that time frame.
Where we use the timeliness of search. So let's go ahead and ask about events in Scottsdale during the Super Bowl. Notice how we can find not only that the Super Bowl is played in Glendale on the 12th, but then the events like Cardi B's Super Bowl party that's on the 10th also shows up. So we're able to pull these things together.
I mean, this is crazy. Like we had to click on different tabs usually to try to explain what we kind of wanted. They had to refine it down because they can't understand context like this until today. Like until this new large language model has sort of hit in a sufficient parameter size that it actually works, we've just never seen it. Okay, and I just want to talk about comparing information from the real world from multiple sites because it just blew my mind that if you ask it a query about can a certain item from IKEA fit in the back of a certain car, it understands the car and it goes to the website, it figures out what car you have, it looks up the dimensions of the trunk, and then it can go to IKEA's website, look up the exact item you want, read what the box size is, and then say, wow, this does fit or it doesn't. So look at this example.
I can ask Bing to determine if that new love seat from IKEA is going to fit in the back of my Honda Odyssey. Bing can actually find the dimensions of the love seat, the interior space of the car, and then make an estimation as to whether it will fit.
This crazy stuff. Now, Microsoft is calling this loosely defined paradigm of interacting with our technology a co-pilot.
We've developed a proprietary way of working with OpenAI. We call this collection of capabilities and techniques the Prometheus model.
We don't want to think about bringing up applications or going to websites. We want to think about it as interacting with a person. And right now, it's mostly in the form of chat, and it's still got some errors and mistakes in how it works, but I can definitely imagine that the promise of a Siri, Alexa, or a Cortana is right around the corner. Once that voice integration gets integrated with this kind of a large language model, a chat system, you have something like a search engine and Bing's index and Google's index to take the entire internet and put all these little pieces together, it's going to start feeling like you really are dealing with a person. So anyways, there it is, the first preview of this OpenAI partnership with Microsoft turning into an actual product that millions of people are probably going to be using this week. Google's obviously going to answer with their own model. I have been reading all these things that they're on high alert and they understand how imperative this is to that $200 billion in profit that they make every year. It's happening so fast, it's kind of scary in some ways. That's why I'm going to cover a lot more content like this on this channel. If you can help me by hitting subscribe right now, that would mean a lot to me. I'm still not to the point where this channel actually makes any money or can sustain anything, but I love doing this kind of work, and by the end of the year I would love to get that up into a point where I'm actually in the partner program and making money on YouTube. And if you guys can help support me, I would really appreciate that. So hit subscribe, and if YouTube is recommending a video to you right here that you find interesting, if you click on it, it helps my watch time, which means the algorithm trusts me more, and then I have more chance of one day making money on this channel. So if there's a box right here and you enjoy it, please click. I would be very appreciative.